Hi, this is Lindsay Schoolcraft, A Cradle of Filth, and you're watching Conversations with Vin and Sori.
I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
And I'm Sparky the Happy Giraffe.
Sparky the Happy Giraffe, what is your occupation, sir?
I play in a black metal band.
Playing a black metal band.
What's the difference between black metal and white metal?
They call white metal stuff that has to do with Christian themes, I guess. Anything that doesn't have anything to do with Satan, they consider it white metal.
Really?
Yeah, but it's kind of like, a basement dweller, like metal elitist term, usually used by simple, long-haired douchebags.
Yeah, but I don't understand.
How do you really feel about that, Mr. Giraffe?
Don't you fit into the white metal category?
No, because there is no such thing as white metal. It's just another made-up term.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, it's, the band. Okay, so what band are you in?
Well, I think a lot of people guessed it by now, but I'll have to say Batushka.
Okay, so you're in Batushka. And the hallmarks of black metal, the things that make black metal, you guys are, right?
Yeah, I think black metal has more to do with the sound than with the lyrical theme, but that's just me.
Right. We were just listening to...
Yeah, that's what I would have thought too.
Agalloch? Is that the name of the band?
Yeah, yesterday.
And I guess the genre Agalloch is a black metal band.
Because, people call Magua a black metal band, but they don't sing about Satan. So.
Right. Magua has, exercises in futility.
Mm-hmm.
What's that? At the Gates? Is that the name? Or was that Wolves in the Throne Room?
Wolves.
Yeah. No, it was Wolves in the Throne Room. They're a black metal band. They're not always talking about Satan either. So what are the actual, because that's actually a good question. What are the actual elements that make black metal black metal?
I think it has a lot to do with the guitar tone and the vocals. Usually when you're listening to black metal, you hear the harsh vocals, like screechy sort of. And as for the guitars, it's a lot of tremolo picking, as one of your viewers pointed out. But yeah, it mostly has to do with the guitar tone and how the vocals sound, and less about the drums because the drums sound similar to most other genres. So.
Yeah, a big thing for me is tremolo picking. I mean, it's pretty explicit with Magua.
Mm-hmm.
Magua is pretty, and I just love it. There's an exercise in futility.
I know you are
Part
such
6,
a fan. Yeah.
They just had that nice little progression, and they just kept playing it, and then they just said, let's just do a variation of it and keep doing the same.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're in Batushka. How long have you been in that band?
I've been in the band since 2015, and that was the beginning of it. It started out as a sort of like mess around project back in like January, I want to say, of 2015. But around like, February, March is when we started getting serious about it.
That's like...
Oh, so it wasn't established when you came to it?
No, at the beginning it was sort of like, oh, I'm doing this cool idea. Like, do you want to, make some demos? And I was like, sure.
Huh, that's cool.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's what happens when you're super talented. You can just screw around and then like come up with a legendary band.
Right.
Oh,
well, that's how a lot of legendary bands start. It all starts as just fucking around with a guitar.
Yeah, if you're super talented. When I fucking around with a guitar, this one goes, I've heard that before.
Stop it.
It's true, that's what you say. That's what you say.
That's because you probably played it before for me.
Well, then you could start a cover band.
You do a lot of good stuff on there.
We're working on a Batushka Magua inspired song, and eventually we'll get to it at some point.
I can't wait to hear that shit.
With the
I didn't
so 2015. So what were you doing before that? Were you kind of did you have a solo thing going? What were you doing before 2015?
Before 2015, well, actually during 2015 and until like July 2016, I want to say, I was actually in like another well-known band, but it wasn't, black metal. I don't want to say the name of the band just because, but that ended badly, and that's when I decided to just do Batushka full time.
we've had many a Fortnite discussion about that particular band.
Yeah.
Is that nerve-wracking to go from like an established band to let's fuck around and see if we can make something out of this?
Yeah, but I wasn't really looking to make a career out of it. Um, in the beginning, I was just sort of like, let's have fun with this because, we didn't really, because usually if you go into something with like high expectations and you want to take it like the distance, it becomes more of a chore.
Yeah.
And that's not what we wanted. We wanted to just do our own thing and kind of go outside the norm a little bit, I guess I should say, and it just happened to work out. So,
Did you work a second job while you were making that happen?
no, like I made just enough with my other band to pay rent and stuff like that.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. So when you left that other band and then you started doing Batushka, how did you make that work? Because like a lot of people, we find out that they work like another job while they're trying to get established, or even some of them are in established bands and they're still working a second job.
Well, by the time 2016, like summer rolled around, we had already been touring, and we had already been selling a lot of merchandise, and
That's
you know
fast.
yeah. So it only took like a year and a half to start seeing money from it, because at the time we were on pretty much our own label, so we didn't have to worry about a record label stealing our hard-earned money.
Yeah, yeah.
So at that time, we were just like, oh, well, we're making enough money from it to pay rent, so this is really all we need to focus on because none of us really care about living large or anything like that. So, it just happened to all the right pieces fell into the right places. So
That's awesome.
Why do you think that Batushka took off so quickly?
Yeah.
I think like what I said earlier about going outside the norm a little bit. People really dig to the chants and the clean vocals mixed with the harsh vocals, and of course the image. Everybody was like, "Oh, Ghost, black metal Ghost." But I mean, as much as we hate that, like as much as we hate being compared to like a rock band, we were just like, well, let's embrace it, because if people like it, why not just accept it.
Yeah, you guys seem a lot more serious aesthetically than Ghost does. Ghost kind of seems to be, yeah, we know it's a gimmick. Just have fun with it at the show. Where you guys seem a lot more, there's the smells and the bells and the.
It's supposed to be an immersive experience.
Yeah, it's a lot
Ghost
more.
is just intended to.
Yeah, because when I first heard Ghost, I liked them. But when I first heard you guys, I did not. I was very uncomfortable with you guys when I first heard you guys. Remember that?
Well, yeah, these guys are just a lot more serious to me than the energy is a lot more serious.
Yeah.
Than Ghost. Ghost is just playful and very catchy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that Ghost is intended to be a parody, whereas we're intended to be, a simulation of sorts.
Right. Where do you find? So, what was the name of the last record you guys did?
Liturgia is our one and only record right now. But as has been announced on Instagram, we are moving forward right now with a new record. So.
Oh, nice.
Do you guys have a title for that record yet?
We do. It's going to be called Panahida.
Panahida?
Yes, it's basically a term for a funeral service or requiem. So, it's not really a follow-up. It's more of like the next chapter, I would say.
So, Liturgia. So, what was the inspiration lyrically for Liturgia?
Well, I would say it had a lot to do with the YouTube comment that the main guy found on a Orthodox song on YouTube, and it said that God's hymns are more black metal than any satanic band out there. And I find it interesting myself because, you know, as you said to me once, you said there's a lot of dark themes in the Bible. There's a lot of dark emotions that even God has. You know, like God feels anger, God feels sadness. So it's, you know, it's just something that it's different, like within the genre. Like if you go to a black metal like forum or a website, most of what you find is Satan this, Satan that, you know, like, and we just didn't really want to be another run of the mill satanic, you know, pagan band. It just, it would get us lost in, you know, the sea of all the other ones. So
Yeah, it's you guys are kind of in a solitary position where you're not a, a Christian band, but you're saying Christian themes in a non-Christian genre.
right, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's sort of like, you know, the middle finger to black metal, but at the same time, it's not. At the same time, it feels like we're sort of adding something to it.
Well, it's definitely expanding the. I mean, how often, in the rap world where I came from, especially when I was growing up, it was, drug dealing, women, and jewelry, and
Yeah,
then how many times are you going to talk about that? And I think that's one of the reasons why Eminem exploded, because when he showed up, he was talking about completely different stuff.
Oh, okay.
So aside from the fact that, oh my God, he's white, which, yeah, okay, for sure, that had a lot to do with it. But if he was white and he was just talking about the same shit, I don't think he blows up as much as he did. But he was talking about
You're probably right.
Totally different stuff and delivering it in an excellent way. So I think you guys are kind of like that, where it's like the genre is glutted with the same exact topics and the imagery. It's not shocking anymore to see something.
No.
right. At that point, it's just, you know, hella boring.
Well, it's interesting because we came into it and our first dark or black metal song was Her Ghost in the Fog, which is not black metal technically. We were told, actually. And
That's
then,
a lot of your comments.
yeah.
Actually,
we
what you
moved
need
into
to
dark.
review.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we moved into darker and darker music, and after, initially we're like, oh my God, I can't believe you said that, how dare he. And then after a while I was like, oh, of course, yeah, you hate God. Oh shit, no. You're gonna slaughter a pig on the altar. Oh, no way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Were you a black metalhead growing up, or was that your kind of genre?
No, actually, I actually was never really a fan of black metal until I actually started doing it, which is funny. Like prior to 2015, I never really listened to Magua very much. I never listened to Behemoth too much. Like I listened to them here and there, but I never really got into it. But as you know, as you start doing new things, you start appreciating them a little bit more.
Yeah.
And we actually, like when we were recording and writing, we were listening to a bunch of different black metal bands to sort of get a feel for, you know, how it should be done, I guess you could say, because the main guy was involved in a black metal band before, you know, with the ex-vocalist now. And yeah, they did something similar, but it didn't really sound too similar. So we were just kind of looking for sounds to base ourselves off of. And that actually didn't really work out because we were, I came from, you know, the rock slash, you know, metal genre where I'm used to having, you know, top tier production. And, you know, obviously when I'm listening to black metal, I'm like, this sounds like shit. Like how could anybody record this and produce this and it comes out this way? But
Right.
and you know that's one of the things that sets us apart sort of is our production. You know, we made sure that you can hear everything going on. It doesn't sound like it was recorded on a toaster. And that was important because when you're doing something like this where there's chants and there's bells and all that stuff, you don't want them to get lost in the mix.
Yeah, it's we've had that experience. There's some black metal bands that have, decent production to where you can make a distinction between notes. And then there's other black metal songs that we listen to and it was just like in the middle of the video, I was like, you guys need to explain how the hell this is a classic song, because
yeah,
zero sense to us.
I could make a better recording on my iPhone.
Yeah.
So like,
yeah.
some of it seems like in this day and age with technology, don't you kind of, so I'm thinking about, you know, Burzum and you know, those first kind of generation guys, but you know, where you had the terrible, you know, recording and it was kind of an FU to all the super shiny metal. But don't you have to kind of like on purpose have bad recording now with all the advancements in technology?
I mean, yeah, it's hard to, like, you can't really go out and get equipment that'll make it sound like shit. You know, it's like you really have to try, you really have to tweak it, you really have to just straight up fuck it up to get it to sound that
I
bad.
wonder if that's hard to do. Like my dad builds houses, and like there's these little cabins that they make for kids, and they're like crooked. And my dad said it's actually extremely difficult to build something crooked because you have to like think through how to make it straight but crooked. So I
Yeah,
wonder if
like
it's
by instinct, you know, by instinct, I'm producing it to sound good. You know, it would, like, we tried to make it sound, you know, like true coal. I say that with quotes, even though you can't see me doing the quotes, but I certainly did that.
Yeah.
But I tried to make it, you know, I tried all that garbage, and it wouldn't have worked because you couldn't hear the chants very well. They got mixed in with the guitars way too much. You couldn't hear the bells at all because they were covered up by the drumming and all that.
Yeah.
It just sounded terrible. And I spoke to the main guy. I said, we can't go forward with that shit. Like, we cannot put a price tag on this shit.
What goes into your what do you do in the band? Do you play guitar? What do you do?
I do that, but I mostly sing. Like live, I have played guitar and I have sang live. Um, but I'm not the main vocalist. I'm one of the guys on the side most of the time.
What goes into what's your songwriting contribution? Do you ever contribute?
The main guy wrote everything on the first one, but I'm actually contributing toward writing on the new one. Um, you know, just
Including,
some. I'm sorry.
including instruments? The
Yeah,
main guy did the instruments too?
yeah, because I'm a guitarist by trade, so he's not like it is his project, you know, and we all respect that, but he's not like a dictator about it. He's not like, oh, it's my way or the highway. He's not like that at all. Like he welcomes input, and if he likes what he hears, he'll use it. So it's just up to me to make something good. That's
So you have so now you're going to be able to be contributing a lot more on the second record. Do you feel any pressure because the first one was so acclaimed? I mean, so it's basically a classic record. I mean, 20
yeah.
years from now, people
We're actually pretty shocked about the reception it got. You know, we were just expecting it to be kind of like an undercover release. But then, like, I look and it's got 2 million views on YouTube, and I'm like, whoa, like, what the fuck happened here?
well, yeah.
And
I mean, you and Magua, I think between um, this last record, Liturgia, is that how you say it? And Exercises in Futility, both you bands came out with a pretty classic record. How do you feel about having to? Do you feel any pressure to replicate that, or do you just say, "Look, that's a special thing that happened. It's lighting. It's never going to happen again"? Or do you feel like, no, we need to get together and come up with something even equivalent or better?
yeah, we're aiming for better. Like, I don't think it's a good strategy at all to try to replicate any like record that you make because it's just going to sound like the same shit and it's just going to be boring and everybody's going to be like, well, well, this isn't what we were waiting for. Like, this just sounds like the B side, so to speak.
Yeah.
So we do, like, there's a certain amount of pressure, you know, because sequels, they can rarely top the original, and that goes for music and movies. So, but we have a roadmap. You know, I'm familiar enough with the material to know like what I need to do, and we all just, you know, we know what we have to do to make something good.
Yeah, Yectenia 4 in particular is just one of my favorite songs, period, of all time. And that's the one I was in the car with my brother. I'm like, yo, you gotta listen to this, man. And it's a really crazy thing to, you're not, you guys aren't singing in English. But it's just an amazing song, which also translates well live. When you're in the writing process or recording process, do you know, whoa, this is a very, very, very special song? Like, do you know what's happening, or is it after and you go, oh shit?
Well, that got big. Oh, that was a good one.
I think all the songs complement each other, because if you listen to the record in like its entirety without like interrupting, you can hear how each song sort of like evaporates and then turns into the next one. You know, Yectenia 1 ends with bells, and those bells carry into Yectenia 2. So it's, if you listen to it like in its entirety, it just sounds like one gigantic song. So it's, you know, I think all of them, like without any single one of them, or if one of them were replaced, it would have been worse.
Right. So how close to you are you to being done with this record?
Um, I mean, we've been working on it like on the road, like writing wise. We're entering the studio now. We actually released a teaser today on Instagram. It's about a minute of instrumentals. We don't have any vocals laid down yet because, well, for obvious reasons. Um, but yeah, we're hoping to have it out by summer of next year.
You guys don't know this, but I am going to be the new vocalist
Yeah, I told you you can audition.
for Batushka.
You have a lot of strengths, Vin, but that's not one of them.
That is not one of them. No, it's not. But not to touch on a newly exposed nerve, but in the music industry, there are very few bands that stick together forever.
Right.
With the original lineup. I mean, Metallica is still here, but they haven't been able to accomplish that. Korn, it hasn't been able to accomplish that. Even though Head came back, David, the original drummer, is not there. Whether losing a band member to an OD or losing a band member to just drama or just fatigue, do you go into the band, and you've been a member of a very big band and then left? How does that work as a musician? Let me ask you this question. Is it as bad for the musician as it is for the fans?
In this case, it'll probably be beneficial to both, because the guy that we decided to part ways with, he tried to basically take over the entire project, not to mention the fact that he has ripped off a lot of people over the past couple of years. Uh, so this is something that we've been planning for, you know, some time now. But as for whether or not the fans benefit, I would say yes, they benefit from this a lot, because they will no longer have to worry about not receiving their orders from the website. They will no longer have to worry about receiving literal garbage instead of what they ordered. So it's definitely something that will change the band for the better.
See, everything happens for a reason, ladies and gentlemen.
Mm-hmm.
Now you'll get what you ordered for Christmas.
But okay, so from a big picture perspective, let's say I'm a Metallica fan, right? And then, of course, Cliff dies, and it's like, that's obviously traumatic. But you turn on your TV and you see MTV News, and it says Jason Newsted has left Metallica, and it's this earth-shattering moment in your life because Jason left Metallica. And obviously you can't speak for Jason, but is it as bad for you as a musician to leave an established band? Or do you think that, because you've been a fan and a member of a band that has fans.
Right.
Who's it harder for?
I think my exit from the previous band was a little harder for the fans than me, because being in that band like completely ruined my mental health. So it was definitely something I needed to get away from for a long time.
Yeah.
but the fans had trouble accepting it, and they still kind of do. They're always like, "Oh, I miss this guy, I miss that guy," and as much as I like to please everybody, it just would not be good for me to go back to that ever. So I can't, like, I care about the fans and all that, but at the end of the day, I have to worry about myself too. I can't sacrifice my mental health and my happiness just to make a bunch of people that I don't know happy. So that's.
I mean, talk about that pressure though, as a
musician.
Well, there's a musician side, but there's also the fact that there's that line in Teen Spirit, "Here we are now, entertainers."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah, basically.
Your role to entertain these people. And so what's it like to have a job where your job is to basically entertain and please people? And what type of pressure does that put on you just for your normal life?
I mean, it depends on how much I'm enjoying what I'm doing. Toward the end, I just hated it. I dreaded going on stage. I dreaded going into the studio. And at that point, I didn't really care about the pressure. I didn't care what people would think if I left. Um, yeah, at the time, I just basically said, I have to get away from this or I'm going to basically descend into insanity. So I think it was less pressure and more like I felt more pressure to leave than to stay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's important for people to know.
I think that there's people that should have had that mindset, but because they didn't, they're
not alive anymore.
Not here with us anymore.
Yeah. If I stayed and if I was still in that band, I probably would not be alive. Because it was pushing me to make bad decisions for my actual physical health. I stopped eating. I ate too much. I started popping pills. I started drinking too much, and at that point, I just decided I have to get out of here. I can't subject myself to this any longer. So at that point, I just stopped caring what the band thought. I stopped caring what the fans thought, because at the end of the day, you can only control yourself, and you decide your destiny these days. So it was just something I had to do.
Yeah, I mean, what keeps you grounded now?
Probably my family. Like, I'm married, obviously, and that was probably one of the best decisions I've made because, she's always been there for me. She's always, talked to me, even though she doesn't really understand, because she's not in my position. She doesn't really understand the struggles of what I do, but at the same time, she's, basically my rock. And whenever I have to talk about something, whenever I'm feeling down or whenever I'm stressed out, you know, like even now I'm stressed out, but yeah, she's always been there to, sort of guide me back to, not caring too much about the bad stuff that goes on. Because if you have a career in any field like music or acting or anything like that, shit goes wrong, all the time. So, and you would think you'd get used to it at a certain point, but it just never happens.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm used to revolving doors of members coming, members going, but I still, as much as this whole thing was planned, I still feel somewhat blindsided by it. Yeah, it's just weird to have that become a reality, even though it's been in the plans for some time now. So it's definitely rough, but at the end of the day, family is the only constant thing. So yeah.
Well, good for her for finding you and rescuing you from the music industry. Good Lord.
Basically.
What is one thing that you would want? Let's say that you could jump in a time machine and talk to yourself 15 years ago. What would you tell yourself?
I think 15 years ago I was in a worse state than I was now. I mean, than I am now. So I think if I could go back in time, like 15, 20 years, I would tell my younger self, I would just say, hang in there, because you're going to have great experiences. You're going to have bad experiences, but overall, you'll learn a lot, and, you'll get into a career that you'll actually enjoy for the most part. And music is really the only thing I'm good at. So if at the time I was sort of questioning myself, because I was in, a couple of smaller bands back then, when I was in my 20s. And yeah, I never really thought it would take off anywhere. I never thought I would get anywhere with these like garage bands that I was playing in. But at the same time, that's how everybody starts out, I think. So, if I could talk to my younger self, I would just say, keep doing what you're doing, because it'll pay off eventually.
Good. Can you stick around? We've got some audience questions. Can you do that?
I can.
Okay, cool. All right. We'll be back with some audience questions. Vin out.
Sori out.
Sparky out.
Okay, so we're back. Interview section. Interview times. This is what we do. We connect the musicians with their people. That's what happens at Vin and Sori. Okay, so introduce yourself, sir.
Hi,
Okay.
Dan.
Hi.
Awesome. Okay, Dan, this is a member of the band Batushka.
Yeah, he looks really cute when the camera goes on him.
Yeah.
Sure.
Do you have a question for the big homie?
Yeah, dude, how is it playing so long, like on stage with all that thick robes and like aren't you like dying in that shit?
Well, they're not too bad. They were actually designed with comfort and kind of a lightweight design in mind. We're able to drink through the masks. That's how thin they are.
Oh.
It's not too heavy. It's just sort of feels like regular clothing. It
Oh,
it
because
depends
it
on
looks like it's like wool or something.
It
Yeah,
does look thick and heavy.
it's kind of like a linen material, but usually it depends on the climate or whether we're indoors or outdoors. If we're indoors during the summer, it obviously gets stuffy. If we're outdoors, it feels kind of nice because the wind goes right through it. But yeah, they were designed with comfort in mind, so they aren't too bad.
Was that something right out of the gate that was an idea?
Yeah, when we were coming up with the costume designs, we were like, all right, we can't have any. Well, we also couldn't have anything too expensive either, like too expensive to make, because we didn't have enough funds in the beginning to really do that. But we were basically, we had to be able to perform, and then we had to be able to sing. We had to be able to do everything like comfortably. Because if everybody's uncomfortable, they're not going to, perform at their highest level. So
Now that you have more notoriety, are you going to have more elaborate? Your current getup is pretty elaborate already.
yeah, I don't think we're going to make many changes to the costumes. But as for like the stage presentation, that's obviously going to get bigger. But right now, we actually, we do have kind of a big stage presentation right now. We have that giant backdrop. We have all the candles. We have the podium and all that stuff. So, I mean, we'll see. We don't want to do anything too extravagant.
Dan, do you have another question?
Yeah, so how I know you don't like the comparison to like Ghost. Do you feel it's almost like there's this separate like visual style that's kind of taking over within kind of subset of metal?
Like, are you talking like robes and
Robes, mask, more like it's not about, it's not us, it's the music,
Yeah, a lot of times when there's like a mask band, like take Magua for example, they only wear masks and hoods, so they all look the same. It's so there's no egos. But with Batushka, obviously, it's supposed to be more of an immersive experience. If we're seeing Orthodox style hymns, we're not gonna. It's not gonna look good if we're wearing jeans and t-shirts. We have to, wear something that matches what's. We have to wear something that matches the sound. So it's more
Right.
about complementing the music rather than, hiding anything. It's not like I say that it's the new corpse paint.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's like, yeah, you got Mgwa, you got Batushka, you got Ghost, you got Portal.
Right.
It's all kind of that.
Yeah, I would say that Ghost got their inspiration
From. Be a rock star because you don't have to see this ugly face of mine.
Nah, you're beautiful, dude.
Aw, we get ice cream after this.
Yeah, I'm down.
All right, Dan. Thank you very much, sir. Hello, Mikkel.
Hey, oh, is this thing on?
Hey.
It's on.
Oh, hell yeah.
Mikkel.
So, if I were to ask a question, so are you working on a new album, and will it have a different focus on another rite than the Divine Liturgia?
Not saying too much or too little about it. I'd say that it's sort of it's kind of the next chapter of what we did with the first one. It's going to be a very similar theme. We're going to keep up the style of Eastern Orthodox, as long as the band continues. So it's going to be the same language, the same, kind of style. But it just kind of depends on who we decide to replace the vocalists with. It depends on what their range is, what they can handle, and what they can't handle. So a lot of it's up in the air right now, but I would tell you that it's going to be not like a continuation of the first one, but it's going to be very similar to the first one.
All right. Thank you for answering that, because I also just saw them on Instagram. One of the Vin and Sori villages actually pointed me towards this, because this was very new for me, that that you parted ways with your singer.
Mm-hmm.
So I can kind of guess out from the previous response that you don't have a replacement in place right now.
No, but we definitely have somebody in mind. So
nice.
Yeah,
that's good, because I'm kind of thinking, because his range, I've seen you live twice now, and it's been absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
I'll just say, I have a feeling he's gonna be kind of hard to replace, but
yeah, but right now we're actually looking at an internal replacement. So
oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So yeah, again, I know you can't say anything.
It's me, Mikkel.
Lead the way, but
Mikkel, it's me. I'm the replacement.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's just going to become now the Sori channel, and then he's going to take off and join Batushka.
I'm going to be a famous rocker.
So Vin is gonna reveal that that he's fluent in Church Slavonic, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, he has a lot of learning to do. If he wants to do it, he's gonna have to spend hours and hours. But yeah.
What, Mikkel, what's your favorite song off of the Liturgia record?
You're being very, very unfair right now. How am I ever going to be able to actually answer that?
Yeah, I hate it when people ask me that too, because it's like trying to pick my favorite child.
I mean,
I have a favorite child.
To me, if you really ask me, the entire Liturgia record is one song.
Right.
It's one continuous song. If I'm going to have to pick any of the tracks off that record, it might actually be Liturgia 1.
That's a solid pick. Definitely. Can't go wrong with the start.
Was it Yectenia 1 or Liturgia 1?
Oh, sorry, Yectenia 1.
Same shit, man.
Gotta be
same
specific,
shit.
Mikkel.
I'm sort of tipsy. I'm sorry.
Well, no, Mikkel, that's what's really interesting is that I asked our guest about that as a musician, because Yectenia 4 is my favorite. And I asked him that, and he basically said that it's one long production or one long song that kind of bleeds into the other. He basically said what you said. And I think it's fascinating that you, as a real hardcore fan who's listened to the record start to finish, got it. And then one of the artists from the band said the same thing. So that's pretty. What is that like?
That makes me happy.
What is that like, Mr. Batushka person, to hear that?
That makes me really happy to hear that, because a lot of people, I mean, I don't really knock people for not understanding it, but it's definitely welcome to hear somebody that gets it. So I love hearing that.
I'm very much obliged here. That actually means a lot to me.
Yeah, you figured it out, Mikkel. Good for you. Now, Mikkel, let me ask you: do you speak the language that's on the record?
Absolutely not. I'm from Denmark,
Okay.
so that's my first language. Speak English, of course, and I don't understand a word of neither Russian or, as far as I've been able to research, the record is in a dialect that's called Church Slavonic.
Yeah, that's correct.
Thank you. And I certainly don't speak a word of that, but I love the sound of it. It's so amazing. I've actually considered going to the Russian Orthodox Church here in Denmark to explore how the liturgy works, because it just sounds beautiful.
Yeah, that's why we chose that theme for sure.
That's amazing.
Well, I was talking in a review that we just did where I remember listening to Shortest Straw from Metallica for the first time and saying, I want to get my guitar right now and play, about music that inspires you to do something. And so how does it feel as a musician to hear that something that you took part in has that type of profound effect and influence on somebody else's life?
I think it's great. It sort of happened with my previous band, but I think it's great when people kind of look past the metal, so to speak, and they look into the actual theme of it, and they actually, become enthusiastic about it. I think that's amazing, because that's what we did before we even made the music. We got so deeply involved in everything behind it, and it's great when people actually take the time to do the same. So,
Mikkel, what's it like as a fan and an appreciator to be able to talk to somebody from a band that you've been loving recently? What's it like for you?
It's absolutely amazing. It's mind-boggling, really, and to know that I actually managed to grasp the idea of it as well, because it was clear from the start that this was a concept, and I'm just so happy that I managed to grasp it, and being able to speak to someone from the actual band who came up with this is just, it's mind-boggling, really. I'm kind of lost for words, really, thinking about it.
Well, that's what happens when you're in the village, my guy.
Yeah, well, we enjoy it just as much too. We love talking to people that are like-minded about it. So,
yeah, it's like I'm used to waiting after concerts for the band to come out and have a chat and stuff. Last time you played in Denmark, at Christiania, it's kind of hard to know who's in the band, really, because of the masks. So having the opportunity to actually to speak to someone right now, being a massive fan of this band, it's wow. Yeah, thank you so much.
yeah, I'll get your info, and if we're ever there again, we'll meet up with you.
Wow, holy crap! Wow, that would be amazing. I would, yeah, Yes, please.
I'll make sure it happens.
All right. We'll hook you
That's
guys up
amazing.
for call. Mikhail, my guy, thank you very much. Really insightful, and your diligence was rewarded. I will make sure that your info gets to our guy, and we'll be seeing you soon.
It's me who's saying thanks. It's amazing. Thank you so much for the stuff you do.
No problem. Thank you for the compliments. We really appreciate it.
Very welcome. Again, it's me who's saying that thanks. So,
all
goodbye.
Right, Merry Christmas, my guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to all of you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
Now you tell me, ladies and gentlemen, you
cool.
tell me what other channel
Come on, this has got to be the best reaction.
creates these types of connection.
We're taking all the credit, but our mystery guy is really the one.
Well, when he said thank you for everything you do, I was about to say, yeah, you're welcome. Until I was rudely interrupted by the artist. All right. Who do we have on the line? Mr. Damon Sage. Hello, Mr. Sage.
What's going on, guys?
Hey.
Hey, we've got about 5 minutes left. You are on with someone from the black metal band Batushka. Do you have a question, sir?
Yeah. I have to relay a question here for one of my members.
Members of what?
Of the True Cult Alliance.
Oh boy. Yeah.
All right.
If it's political, I'm not answering it.
That's fine. That's fine.
All right.
Quote, are you working on a new album and will it focus on a different rite than the Divine Liturgy?
Everybody keeps asking the same one.
Yeah, I can say that we're definitely doing that. As for whether or not it'll be focused on the same thing, I can't really answer that yet. But it'll definitely be, of the Orthodox theme. That's just the way it's always going to be. So,
gotcha. This second question and the last question that I have is more. It's newer. Just announced today. You just announced that you parted ways with your previous singer. Do you have a replacement ready? Do you have any ideas type of vocal approach you're trying to get to?
Yeah, we actually have somebody in mind. It's probably going to be an internal replacement. So it's, he's got the same, talents to do the harsh vocals and the clean vocals. So the separation from the past vocalist isn't really going to change much about it. So.
All right, cool. Thanks.
No problem.
I'm sure if I have any other questions, I think I know someone who can help me with that.
Yep.
More perks for being part of the village. Thank you very much, Mr. Sage.
Thanks, guys. See you.
Bye.
See you. Just like that, he's out. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for this interview, sir. We really, really appreciate it.
Of course.
And thank you for sticking around and talking to some of your fans. That must have been a pretty cool moment running into Mikhail.
Yeah, I like him a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think with your guys' music, I think there are different genres all over the place. And so you can't be serious all the time. And so there's bands for that. Mm-hmm. But if you're a deep, introspective person, which Mikhail seemed to be, it's good to have a band where you can kind of go deeper and explore and, check out some Orthodox churches, and not necessarily for the religion per se, but just to say, hey, this inspired this band. Yeah. It sparked some curiosity. So kudos to you guys for doing something actually different without being corny or obtuse about it.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. You guys pulled it off. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We have more interviews coming with more amazing people and more artists and more ways to connect our fan base to them. So keep your eyes tuned. Sign up on a Patreon group. You too will be able to join in. Vin out.
Sori out.
Sparky out.
Gone.